Hello. In this video I will prove that the moon is a reflection of Earth, and secondly, we live on a gigantic ball. I came to this conclusion by assuming Earth is enclosed in a big mirror plasma ball. Give it a thought. Let's create a plasma ball. Put Mr. X into it. Mr. X is looking at himself. Let's spin Mr. X. This is what he is seeing. Put a light source on Mr. X. Now let's speed up the moon and put it next to Mr. X. But I have a problem now. I had to speed up the moon. Here are the moon phases for 1 month. And here for a year. Conclusion. The light needs 30 days to turn around the moon. And it takes only 24 hours to turn around Mr. X. If the moon is the reflection of Mr. X, how come the difference? Let's ask Mr. Einstein. It's all about the time dilation theory. Give me a minute to explain it to you. You have a light clock with 2 mirrors in the opposite direction and the light beam bouncing between the mirrors. So you take 2 light clocks. One light clock is standing on the Earth. The second one you put on a spaceship. When the spaceship starts flying, the light beam will have to cross the distance the spaceship is flying. Therefore, it will take longer for the light beam to go from one mirror to the other. The faster the spaceship goes, the longer it will take, and therefore time will slow down in comparison with the clock on the ground. Here you see a computer image. The red ball is going faster, but time is slowing down. Here we see Mr. X turning, and we see his mirror image turning faster because it is on the outside of the circle and Mr. X is on the inside. On the left we see Mr. X experiencing real time. On the right side we see the mirror image slowing down due to time dilation. Mr. X sees himself in slow motion. Left the Earth, right the moon. If the reflection of Earth is 30 times slower than Earth itself, that means if Earth is 5 billion years old, we are looking at the image of Earth being 170 million years old. Has life already started? So, if you take a telescope and you look at the moon, you probably won't see any humans running around. Now I will prove to you that we are living on a greater ball. What if Mr. X would wonder, hey, I'm always seeing the front of my face. How would the back of my head look like? Is it possible to see it? I would say yes, but we have to play a trick here. I will put a fly on the back of Mr. X, his head. What would the fly be seeing? It would be seeing the same light movements, but from the back. So let's take the little ball theory. Let's take the United States. let's presume that the USA is the front side of Mr. X. Then we take on the opposite side of Earth, we have Europe, and we would make that the fly side. So, what would the United States see as their reflection? They would see this. And what would Europe see as their reflection? They would see this. They would be seeing different moons. But everybody is seeing the same moon. Therefore, we must be all on the same side. But now, we face an even bigger problem, because if the moon is our reflection and we are all at the same side, we are all at the same moment in darkness or in daytime. To understand this, we have to put the sun into the equation. What is the sun? Well, for this I'll make a hypothesis. You don't have to agree, but it really makes no difference for the rest of the theory. So, you have the plasma ball being heated up by an outside source. The ball is heating up and forming a blister, a ball with heated plasma, boiling and turning around and shooting solar flares. So, Mr. X is sitting in the plasma ball, spinning around, and he will see the sun. The first time he will look straight into the sun. This will result in this image. Mr. X cannot see his mirror image because he is looking straight into the sun. But Mr. X will see the sun a second time. The moment when he is with his back at the sun, he will see the reflection of the sun in the plasma belt. So Mr. X will see this image. So, if I make an animation of this, this is the result. Now, if Mr. X thinks he is looking at the moon, he thinks, look, the sun is turning around the moon, or the moon is turning around the sun. Or if Mr. X realizes he is looking at his mirror image, he thinks, look, the sun is turning around me. Wrong again. Now I will analyze this image. I did a little experiment with real footage. So I have a spotlight. I have Mr. X cut out, and I have a mirror. When you are filming from the standpoint of Mr. X, your reflection is in total blackness due to the backlight. But when you are looking on the front, the face actually is receiving light. When I'm using a bowl, you can see it better. Here the reflection of the light, the reflection of the bowl itself. So you see the bowl is receiving light from the reflection from the mirror. So what I'm trying to say here is the reflection of Mr. X is in darkness, but Mr. X himself is not in darkness. So when you see the reflection of Earth becoming black, that is because of the backlight. This does not mean there is no light shining on Earth, aka the moon. So, Mr. X is receiving light 2 times. Once from the front, when he looks into the light, and the second time, when the light is reflecting in the plasma ball. This results in this model. Watch the little crater moving around. So why did I put a crater in the ball? I was observing the moon's surface and I thought, meteorite impacts? No way. Now, that's more like it. But then you need air. Another reason to reject the idea that the moon is a rock in space. So let's take one air bubble and compare that with the moon craters. So let's take that air bubble again. Replace it with the flat Earth map. Put some water into it. You see that the North Pole is the eye of the vortex. Put that on a bigger bowl. And then you see low tide and high tide. So now we end up with this. We have a bigger Earth, a small crater, and two suns. But we still have a problem. If you watch carefully, you see that one part of the crater is in constant darkness. So let's go back to the moon. Here you see the images of the moon, but the moon is stabilized. Here you see the unstabilized movie. You can see that the Earth is wobbling. It's going up and down, up and down. So let's go back to Mr. X. Mr. X is spinning around, but he is also going up and down. The sun is below him, above him, below him, above him. Now you see the sun is above the crater. The top side of the crater is dark. Now the sun is below the crater and the low side of the crater is in darkness. Here you see the total image. Let's presume a drone is hovering above the crater. It would be seeing this. Now look at the upper side of the crater. Darkness, light. Now the downside, light, dark. So one part of our biosphere is receiving daylight from the reflected sun, and the other part of the biosphere is receiving daylight from the real sun. So, what would be winter and summer? I think the moon is making three movements: spinning, wobbling, and I think the third movement is slightly moving from its position. To be absolutely sure, you have to study the moon for 34 years to have 1 year in real time. Here I move Earth closer to the sun on one side and now on the other side. Winter on one side, summer on the other, and vice versa. Here is the end animation. Instead of wobbling the Earth, I had a higher light and a lower light. That would give the same effect. Now we have the final question. Where exactly on the moon is the Earth situated? To examine this, I have taken one movement of the moon and I have lit up the dark side. So I can check out the movement. Now I can draw two lines wherein the Earth is moving. The bottom and the top. Watch the black spot on the right. Now I can put a red line between the blue lines, so that is the axis on which the craters are moving from dark to light. Only on this axis you have craters with the day and night of 12 hours. So on the left you see the white spot. That is crater Copernicus. On the right side you see a black spot. That is called Mare Crisium. So let's take Google Maps and zoom in. On the left you see crater Copernicus, and on the right Mare Crisium. So you have to draw an axis between those two. Then we will zoom in and look for planets. Oops, what is that? Exactly on the place. I was looking for some craters. That could be planet Earth. You see this. What is it? At first I was thinking, well, it's a cover-up. But now, when I looked at it for the second time, I see that they are actually changing the shadows. You see, shadow on the right, shadow on the left, shadow on the right. Look at the smaller ones there. Are we living in a big hole or a small hole? I'm not sure. Time will tell. That's it. Now you can reject the idea of the plasma ball, or you can accept it. If you accept it, you will wake up on a bigger Earth. If you reject it, you can keep on dreaming of space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the New World Order Enterprise. Its continuing mission to invent new worlds, to destroy our lives and our civilization, to sell more lies than anyone has done before.